It's Friday, October 21st, and the lettuce lasted longer. We start here.
I am a fighter and not a quitter.
Liz Truss resigns, making her the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history.
She wanted to cling on, but in the end she had to quit.
So who's up next? And would you believe it if I said Boris Johnson? Back in the U.S., voters get ready to cast their ballots, if they can read them.
I was wondering why you needed assistance.
Because I can't read.
Okay.
I'm illiterate.
Why literacy volunteers are feeling pushed away from the voting booths. And if there was a satanic panic, call this the Halloween routine.
We have stopped, for the most part, believing in ghosts and goblins, but we believe in criminals.
Drugs are being disguised as candy, but should your trick-or-treater really be scared? From ABC News, this is Start Here. I'm Brad Milkey. 44 days. That is a month and a half. It's barely 6 weeks. It will also now forever be known in Britain as a period of time called a Liz Truss. Remember last month when Queen Elizabeth died, her final official act in office had been to officially meet with Truss, who had just been named by her own party to replace embattled Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And at the time, there was confusion about what kind of Prime Minister she would want to be. Like, who is this person? Well, we quickly had our answer.
I have a bold plan to grow the economy through tax cuts and reform.
In a span of just days, this new Conservative leader announced her ministers would be instituting massive tax cuts for the country. The wealthy would pay less, as would corporations. If there wasn't enough money to fund basic services, she said, we'll borrow more. Citizens reacted in anger, and then worldwide markets began to react in fear.
No government can control markets, but every government can give certainty about the sustainability of public finances.
Soon, Truss was forced to backtrack, but that didn't stop the criticism that she was unfit to lead.
A book is being written about the Prime Minister's time in office. Apparently, it's going to be out by Christmas. Is that the release date or the title?
And so yesterday, Liz Truss did what had become inevitable. She stepped down as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Let's start the day with ABC's foreign correspondent James Longman, who's in London right now. James, man, this all happened so fast. A couple days ago, you were saying this might happen. Can you just walk us through what happened between then and now?
Well, a lot. I mean, minute by minute, things just seem to get more and more extreme here. We had a day where I think Liz Truss hoped that things would get better.
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter.
And so it looked like maybe she could survive. And then her Interior Minister resigned, or so we were told. We were told that her Interior Minister, the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, resigned over an issue over improper email usage. And then it transpired that, no, in fact, she had been sacked. There had been a fight between Liz Truss and her Home Secretary. And then later that evening, there was a vote in the House of Commons which apparently descended into chaos. They forced it into basically a vote of confidence, and there were allegations that government officials were on the floor of the House of Commons, government whips, you have whips in the US, we have them here, were physically almost pushing their colleagues into separate voting chambers. We heard allegations that lawmakers were crying in the toilets of the House of Commons because they had just become so fraught and upset with how the government was handling its business. And so well into the night, Downing Street was trying to put out fires. And then we woke the next morning.
I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Liz Truss had said at the dispatch box in Parliament she's a fighter, not a quitter. She wanted to cling on, but in the end she had to quit.
Wow. And so what happens next, James? Because you guys don't vote there all of a sudden, right? Like, the next election isn't mandated for a couple years. So the Conservative Party would just hold an internal vote for its next leader? Like, just another Liz Truss?
Well, quite. I mean, this is the big issue. So one of the big reasons why she did manage to hold on for so long after that initial cataclysmic tax announcement was because people just didn't know if the country would be okay with replacing her. Well, in the end, the dam burst and she's now agreed to step down.
It will be possible to conduct a ballot and conclude a leadership election by Friday the 28th.
It's going to be an expedited process to replace her. So there's going to be a week where the Conservative Party will basically hold another election. But it'll be a bit different this time. There's likely only to be maximum 3, possibly only 2 candidates. And then on Friday of next week, we should have our Prime Minister, the third of this year.
Who's it going to be?
Well, exactly. I mean, moments after she turned round and went back into 10 Downing Street, that was all everybody wanted to know. And they were already, I mean, they all came out of the blocks.
Tories essentially felt their only chance of surviving when we go to the next time to a general election was to get rid of her sooner rather than later.
So what you have to understand about the Conservative Party in Britain is it's broadly split in two, and this is really the issue that they face. You've got the kind of left-leaning side of the party, where I think, you know, people like David Cameron would have come from, Rishi Sunak, who was our former finance minister.
The most pressing economic priority for the new Prime Minister and the new government is to grip inflation.
He is now back in the running, so it could be him. He went up against Liz Truss last time and lost out, but he was the finance minister through COVID, so he has that kind of economic credibility that people are wanting. Another name is Penny Mordaunt. She was another front runner in the leadership election, but Boris Johnson, he's on the horizon. Currently, apparently on holiday, on vacation in the Caribbean, but is speeding back to Britain because he has been floated as a possible 10 Downing Street returner, the 55th Prime Minister coming back to replace the 56th.
Excuse me, James. I'm trying to make sure the connection's okay. Are you saying that Boris Johnson, who was just kicked out of office, like in infamy, could be just welcomed right back? That's a possibility?
Well, it tells you something about the state of the Conservative Party, I think. It tells you something about the level of personal, I suppose, celebrity that Boris Johnson has in Britain. He has that thing that all politicians want and many of them never get, which is name recognition.
Together, we have laid foundations that will stand the test of time, whether by taking back control of our laws or putting in vital new infrastructure.
So yes, quite possibly. And, you needn't sound so surprised, Brad. You are talking to me from the United States, where Donald Trump is very possibly may come back into office again. So, there are many parallels here. And I think it speaks to the pace of politics these days, right? On both sides of the Atlantic. It seems like for us in Britain, since the Brexit referendum, politics has sped up. It's become more extreme, more combustible, more unpredictable.
There are people disenfranchised in our politics today, angry at the way the country has been let down by its non-conservative opposition and feeling hopeless.
I mean, the Conservatives won a huge majority at the last election under Boris Johnson. It's one of the reasons why they think they might want him back. But normally it would take 2 or 3 elections by the Labour Party to get rid of them. It would take 2 or 3 elections for the Labour Party to win enough seats to get them out of office. Now, the polls say they would wipe the Conservatives out clean if there was a general election. So it just goes to show how much faster politics moves in this day and age. And I think really it was the Brexit referendum which supercharged it, and how much more fraught and aggressive the political scene has become.
Yeah, and you are onto something there, James, that here we are in a country where you can go from Obama to Trump to Biden, perhaps back to Trump. And that's not just a political issue. That has real effects down the line. And now we're clearly seeing what is becoming a generational defining moment in Brexit and how the UK has dealt with that, how that's going to affect Europe. James Longman in London with his head still spinning. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, next up on Start Here, in American voting booths, literacy tests are supposed to be a thing of the past. So why was a volunteer charged with a crime? We're back in a bit.
Tonight, the White House reports of Iranian troops on the ground in Ukraine helping the Russians. What could this mean for Putin's war? Plus, counting down to the midterms with so much at stake. World News Tonight with David Muir is the most watched newscast on all of television.
From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
'Tis time.
He really scared you.
I wasn't scared. I was being polite.
Sounds creepy.
31 Nights of Halloween. Watch all October on Free 4.
On the campaign trail right now, the biggest questions are about the issues, the candidates. What will you do if you get in? But on election night, there's only one thing that matters: the votes. This year, there's a ton of attention being placed on what certain candidates, particularly those who refuse to recognize the outcome of the 2020 election, could mean for the future of voting. But even in this year, a year in which the public is showing sky-high interest in voting compared to a lot of other midterm elections, it is not clear whether everyone who wants to vote will be able to. Not just because of voter registration rules or access to ballot drop boxes. No, I'm talking about the simple act of reading your ballot.
I found it very intimidating in going into the box because I didn't comprehend. I could not understand what it was that I was voting for or what it even meant to me or to my community or to my family.
That's right. In a country where a significant chunk of American adults cannot reliably read, what happens when they show up to the polls? What do they deserve, and what do they get? And how could all that affect election results? Annie Waldman is an education reporter with the investigative news outlet ProPublica. And Annie, I guess I've heard this phrase voter illiteracy before. How big of an issue is it really? Like, are you saying that there are people out there who are voting and cannot read the ballot they're marking?
That's right. I mean, this is not a small group of people. According to the data for the National Center for Education Statistics, there are about 48 million Americans, adults, about 1/5 of the adult population who struggles to read at a basic level. Adults born outside of this country are disproportionately represented, but about 2/3 of adults with low reading skills were born in the United States. So it's not just, people who immigrated to our country who are struggling with English. And this actually impacts their ability to vote.
So it was very intimidating. And when I would go into the booth, people were coming and going, and I'm still there trying to figure out probably the first word that was even on the ballot.
It impacts their ability to understand names on the ballot, impacts somebody's ability to understand registration dates and what's required and where to fill out forms.
And it was just so intimidating to the extent that, I would just say, well, let me hurry up and vote, just mark and get out of here because I'm wasting too much time. And when it was over, I didn't know what I voted for or if it was good or bad or anything like that.
So what is in place in our federal laws is that we are guaranteed that if we struggle to read, we can have somebody help us at the ballot box and help us vote. But people aren't always aware that this is a federal right, that assistance is something that is protected by federal law.
When we talk about these sort of volunteers, what does that mean? They are at the polls on election day saying hey, I'll read your ballot to you if you want?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are people out there who, they're sitting an appropriate distance away from the actual ballot box, but they are there to help you read if you struggle at the ballot box.
I'm free. I did it. Yes. I just assisted her. Some words she couldn't understand. I feel good, like James Brown said. I feel good.
Also, poll workers are sometimes allowed to help you read your ballot if you struggle. But this right is under attack. It's under threat.
They gave Biden a lot of votes that he would never have gotten. This is not a candidate that could get 80 million votes. This is just not a candidate.
Over the past 2 years, because of the myth of widespread election fraud, states have proposed new restrictions. While they don't all target voters who struggle to read, they do make it especially challenging. For example, Georgia passed a law last year limiting who can even return or even touch an absentee ballot.
You compare us to some of these other states, we did a better job, but there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
Florida also expanded the radius around election locations in which volunteers are actually prohibited from asking people if they need to help.
We must pass laws to prevent election officials from jeopardizing the election process.
And Texas passed a law which prohibits voters' assistants, so people who are trying to help people who struggle to read, from answering questions or paraphrasing complicated language on a ballot. Even though a federal judge struck most of this law down, there's still remnants of it in place that really kind of suppress people from trying to help others vote.
This is the last week of early voting coming up this week. If I come up, y'all coming up.
So perhaps the most striking case of intimidation and suppression, it's not just the laws themselves, but actually the prosecution of people who are trying to help people vote.
Give it up for Coffee County.
We stumbled upon the story of Olivia Coley-Pearson. She's a city commissioner in Coffee County in Georgia, and she's made it her mission to make sure that everybody in her community who wants to vote has an opportunity to do so, and she's been helping them for decades.
My mother was a civil rights activist here in Coffee County,
That's what helped to frame me to be involved like I am.
But over the past 10 years or so, she's been prosecuted twice for trying to help people at the ballot box. The first time,
she's been
she
prosecuted? What do you get prosecuted for?
That's right. I mean, in 2012, the chair of her board of elections in her county where she lives filed a complaint against her and a handful of other volunteers, essentially accusing them of helping people who, quote unquote, didn't qualify for help.
People were intimidated. Fear has been put into people. They would actually say, if they're doing this to you as an elected official, what in the world would they do to me?
Georgia law only allows for voters to actually receive assistance if they are disabled or cannot read English.
Hello. Yeah, this is Glenn with the Secretary of State's office. I'm working an election case down there in Coffee County for the State Election Board.
The Secretary of State's office, they investigated Olivia to make sure that she was fairly helping people who actually needed help.
She didn't mark why she assisted you, and I was wondering why you needed assistance.
Because I can't read.
Okay.
I'm illiterate.
And that's no problem. She can assist you if you have problems reading. That's no problem, okay?
They found that, there were a number of voters who said that they couldn't read and did need help, but there were also voters who requested help regardless of their ability to read. The actual Secretary of State's office, State Election Board, chose not to recommend her case for criminal prosecution, but the local district attorney prosecuted her anyway, charging her with 2 felonies. This trial ended up in a hung jury, and when it was moved to another county, she was acquitted of all charges.
We had some righteous jurors today.
Yes.
My children can stop worrying about it.
The sad thing is her saga did not end there. Again, in 2020, when she was helping voters who struggled to read at the polls, she was arrested at the voting booth for supposed criminal trespassing. The charge hung over her for 2 years, but just earlier this year, the case was dropped. So again, you hear about these laws that are getting stricter in all of these states that really limit assistance, but then you hear the story of Miss Coley Pearson, and that's what brings intimidation and suppression to the forefront. That's what we're looking at.
Is there a concern, though, because I understand that people should be able to understand their ballot, should be able to make an informed choice. Is there a concern, though, that I'm just thinking of the worst case scenario. Somebody shows up at your polling place. They say, hey, I want to help you out. You're like, thank goodness, I need some help. And then they say, vote for this. Here's the list of people. And they just leave out the name of the Republican or the name of the Democrat or something. Isn't there a concern that if you got everyone going in the voting booth together, that you do end up getting bias and influence where there shouldn't be?
That's an interesting point that you bring up. In fact, conservative politicians have been using that as a rationale to actually crack down on voter assistance for decades.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to see all the angles here.
But actually, as we all know, widespread voter fraud is actually a myth. That doesn't happen. And there are many, people who are put in place to watch people vote, to make sure that they're accurately voting, that they're voting in the right way in the polling booth, to make sure that nobody's going to overstep their bounds. So, the case of this happening, it would be extremely rare, if at all.
In your reporting, you noted that the majority of these functionally illiterate adults in this country were actually born here. You got sizable groups from all races, but you also noted that Black adults are overrepresented compared to the population. So is race an issue when we talk about how all this affects voting?
Yeah, look, we can't forget the history of voting rights in the South and when we're talking about what's happening today.
Frankly, I don't think we're going to have too much success in terms of actual tangible gains. That is, getting people actually registered in the Black Belt as long as we have the present registrars there and as long as we have the present literacy tests.
About 50 years ago, southern states forced literacy tests on voters to keep Black people out of the polls.
Right.
And back then, local voting officials actually made exceptions for white people who couldn't read. It was really only in 1965 when Congress passed the Voting Rights Act prohibiting racial discrimination at the polls that some of this started to stop.
The right to vote, for example, should no longer be denied through such arbitrary devices on a local level, sometimes abused as literary tests and as poll taxes.
But this did not stop white conservatives, especially in the South, from continuing to discriminate against voters, particularly those with low literacy skills who, due to centuries of oppression, were disproportionately Black.
Citizens must have
complete confidence in the sanctity of their right to vote. And that's what this legislation is all about.
In 1982, recognizing the importance of assistance at the polls, particularly for people of color, Congress amended the Voting Rights Act and affirmed that people are allowed to have assistance at the polls.
It says to every individual, your vote is equal, your vote is meaningful, your vote is your constitutional right.
But even though there was this kind of congressional affirmation of this right in 1982, it wasn't enough to fully eradicate this kind of discrimination at the ballot box. You know, we have reviewed lawsuits, federal investigations, and we found numerous examples where the discrimination continues to this day.
They want to pretend there are no racial issues here. When you look at poverty in the community, the rate of graduation from high school, it works hand in hand.
It's absolutely fascinating. Okay, Annie Waldman from ProPublica, who led this report. We should also add much of the sound you heard in this piece was courtesy of ProPublica. So, Annie, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.
And one last thing. Police in Los Angeles made a big drug bust this week.
According to the LA County Sheriff's Department, someone tried passing through TSA screening with 12,000 fentanyl pills.
The good news is they stopped a guy who was allegedly trying to smuggle thousands of fentanyl pills through security. The bad news is they were being smuggled in candy wrappers.
And this is just another reminder for parents as Halloween approaches to check their kids' candy.
Because you know what this means now. It means a lot of parents in Los Angeles and elsewhere are going to be scared that their kids' Halloween candy is laced with drugs, even though it kind of makes no sense.
Now, this is a person who's so crazy that he'll poison little children at random, but he only does it one night a year. That's a very...
Yeah, wait. Now that I think about it,
Meet Joel Best, who's been researching trick-or-treating for decades.
I'm a professor of sociology and criminal justice at the University of Delaware, and I'm the world's leading expert on poisoned Halloween candy. I can say that because there is no one else doing research on this.
For the last 40 years, he says, he's basically been giving the same interview, trying to reassure parents that no one out there is trying to tamper with Halloween candy. And yet every few years, there is another thing out there to be scared of.
This goes back. Halloween, trick-or-treating is not as old as you think it is. It really becomes widespread after the Second World War, and it's kind of an anti-delinquency measure because people are upset that adolescent boys are tipping over outhouses and things like that. And right away, people start telling stories. There's a story, for example, that people will heat pennies on a skillet and pour the hot pennies into the outstretched hands of trick-or-treaters. And that's from very early in the 1950s.
From there, it seemed like every time there was an event that made us feel out of control, parents started worrying that Halloween was a threat, especially if this event happened right before the big day.
In 1982, the Tylenol murders were in September, and there was a lot of speculation that, you'd have contaminated candy and Halloween.
What exactly is going on in the lab today?
What we are examining are capsules of Tylenol that were collected throughout the New England area.
In 2001, there were a lot of stories about terrorists giving contaminated treats to kids.
We're wondering at this point whether we should discourage people from actually going door-to-door trick-or-treating.
I check all my kids' candy before I give them anything. So that's just common sense. You want to make sure that everything that you give your kids is safe.
Same goes for the AIDS crisis. Remember, suddenly there were supposedly needles in buckets, and when several states legalized marijuana, parents worried about stoners giving away their weed.
They said, do you have any idea how much expensive this stuff is? Nobody's going to give this away to school children. And, now this year we have fentanyl, and the street price of fentanyl is vastly higher.
Which brings us back to this airport bust. Yes, fentanyl was smuggled in candy wrappers, but you can be pretty sure drug cartels didn't plan to hand those out for free. But surely, I found myself thinking, surely these concerns are based on actual poisonings, right? Somewhere along the line. Well, he says in all of his research, he has never found a single documented death due to a mass candy poisoner.
I know of 5 cases where deaths have been attributed to this. One was a father who killed his son.
That's right. A dad who apparently thought he was committing the perfect crime poisoned his own kid. Police believed him, but then got suspicious when every neighbor kid seemed to be fine.
And the other 4 were instances where it was initially attributed to poison candy, and then it was walked back. It was some sort of health issue or something like that. So I can't find a single case where anybody's been really seriously hurt this way.
Why then, if this is not truly a big thing, why does it feel like such a big thing?
Well, I think that this is perfectly consistent with the nature of Halloween. Halloween is supposed to be scary.
That's horrifying to think that you have all these little children running around. A lot of them don't even check their candy before they get home.
You know, we have stopped, for the most part, believing in ghosts and goblins, but we believe in criminals.
I try to look for packages that have been broken open with the cellophane or suckers that may be unwrapped. And the neighborhood we're in, they're all pretty good people, but we still check the candy.
At this point, he says, he can't even get mad at police for telling parents to check on their kids' candy. After all, even if the fears are unfounded, they feel real. Everyone assumes this stuff has happened. That includes cops. And the reasoning is, it never hurts to be careful. Of course, this can also serve as a way for law enforcement to appear proactive on a night when everyone's on edge. But I did have one last theory to check on.
Is the real reason that parents tell their kids there might be poison in the candy, is that just so they can inspect the candy and steal the candy? Is this just parents trying to steal candy? I think it's a solid theory. I think you should look into this.
I'll try and follow that up.
Our producer Brenda was saying every Halloween after the mandatory safety check from your parents, all the Reese's in her bag would be gone, but somehow all the candy corn was still there the next morning. I mean, if anything, we should be on guard for all this wax that's dressed as candy. Look, now I'm going to get all these candy corn apologists up in my DMs. Start Here is produced by Kelly Therese, Jen Newman, Brenda Salinas Baker, Madeline Wood, Vika Aronson, Iru Ekpanobi, Cameron Chertavian, and Tara Gimbel. Ariel Chester is our social media producer. Josh Cohan is director of podcast programming. I'm our managing editor. Liz Alessi is the head of ABC Audio. Thanks to Lakia Brown, John Newman, and our intern, Ania McLean. Special thanks this week to Chris Berry, Bonnie McLean, and again, ProPublica for their help on coverage of voter literacy. I'm Brad Milkey. See you next week.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go. We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
America is being poisoned with fentanyl, and we don't even know it.
Just heard my wife screaming. She told me they had just died.
50 to 100 times more potent than morphine.
Keep breathing, come on. It's poison, it's pure poison.
A few grains of salt worth of fentanyl will kill you.
Just my agency has seized enough to kill the entire country.
ABC News Live presents Poisoned, America's Fentanyl Crisis. The powerful series, streaming free on ABC News Live.
Amber Rose Isaac was the love of my life.
She went into the hospital, and then I just see Shamani as...
She was as good as dead as soon as she walked into that hospital.
Black women are 4 times more likely to die than their white counterparts with the same symptoms.
I can't let Amber be another statistic. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else.
This fight is not over.
We're doing this together, man.
From the giant sequoias to the waterfalls, it's an amazing place.
But in Yosemite, criminals go on vacation too. A park ranger found partial human remains.
That was a human hand.
That opened the possibility of suspects.
Henry Lee Lucas.
Carrie Stainer.
Donald Gibson.
Any of them could have done it.
We're gonna figure this thing out.
Wild Crime, Season 2, Murder in Yosemite. Only on Hulu.
Right now on America This Morning, growing concern about a spike in the number of children being hospitalized for respiratory illnesses. Some hospitals now over capacity. One doctor telling us overnight, this is just the beginning. The warning signs and how parents can protect their kids.
Ukraine's president with an urgent new warning saying Russia has planted explosives along a major dam that could flood hundreds of thousands of people. And this morning, the new video of children being fitted for body armor as Ukraine and Russia brace for a major battle in the south.
U.S. government forecasters out with a new prediction. What we can expect this winter when it comes to temperatures and much needed rain and snow.
TikTok in the spotlight, the new claim about its Chinese parent company and the surveillance of Americans.
The political turmoil across the pond that led to a head of lettuce being beamed onto the Houses of Parliament overnight.
And from a legal battle over this pasta to the theory about a woman with red painted nails to Taylor Swift addressing engagement rumors in a new song. It's Friday, October 21st.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We want to begin with growing concern about the surge in the number of children being hospitalized for respiratory illnesses.
Hospitals are running out of room, with pediatric beds filling up fast. We spoke with one pediatrician overnight. He said this could be just the beginning. This morning, doctors believe the surging cases of respiratory illnesses in children could get worse.
We're at the start of cold and flu season. It's barely the end of October right now, so we could potentially see this going on through spring.
Hospitals in at least 36 states and Washington, D.C. are now reporting a huge spike in children sick with respiratory illnesses such as RSV, flu, and other viruses. 71% of pediatric beds across the country are now filled.
Myself and my colleagues are seeing full ICUs, urgent cares, and we're having trouble actually finding open peds ICU beds for kids all across Northern California.
While it's not COVID causing the uptick, doctors do partially blame the pandemic, saying kids are just now getting hit with respiratory viruses they had little exposure to after years of masking and social distancing.
Here to check you over, make sure we can get you feeling better, okay?
Hospitals in Connecticut are seeing some of the biggest surges. At Yale New Haven Children's Hospital, RSV cases in the emergency department nearly doubled in the last week, from 57 to 106. At Connecticut Children's Hospital, every bed is full. Hospital officials were out with FEMA and the National Guard yesterday to survey sites for a possible field hospital. Doctors say parents should have their kids checked out if they see signs of respiratory distress, such as fast or labored breathing, fever, or blue or discolored skin on the face, signaling low oxygen.
Simply put, parents have heard this for the last couple of years. We have to make sure we keep up with hand washing, staying home, and having your kids stay home if they're sick. And as always, make sure you get those flu shots, preferably before Halloween. Do it now.
And doctors at a hospital in Rhode Island say their beds are filling up with patients from southern Massachusetts, where some hospitals are at capacity.
A developing story now from the war in Ukraine. Word that Russian forces have taken steps to sabotage a major dam. It comes as Russia begins a large-scale evacuation of thousands of civilians, preparing for what could be a decisive battle. ABC's Justin Finch is here now with the latest. Justin, good morning.
Rhiannon, good morning. President Zelensky is warning of a, quote, large-scale disaster. He says the Russians have now packed a major dam with explosives. Ukrainian President Zelensky delivered an ominous warning to European leaders, saying Russia may be planning to blow up a major dam and hydroelectric plant and then blame the Ukrainians for it. Zelensky accused Russia of already planting mines in the dam in southern Ukraine, adding an attack could flood 80 towns and villages, along with the city of Kherson. And Zelensky says destroying the dam could cause cooling issues at the Zaporizhzhia power plant, Europe's largest nuclear power plant, more than 100 miles upriver. Kherson is the only regional capital Russia controls, lying in one of 4 regions Vladimir Putin illegally annexed. Russian-appointed authorities in that city evacuated an estimated 15,000 residents yesterday, with more expected in the coming days. Experts say the evacuations could be a sign the Russian military will soon abandon Kherson as the Ukrainian military prepares for a major counteroffensive. The Ukrainians have regained large portions of land in recent weeks in the south and the northeast.
Until a few weeks ago, this entire area was occupied by Russia. Today, the Ukrainian forces are pushing them ever closer back to their own border. For now, Putin's failing to win the land war and resorting increasingly to targeting innocent civilian targets.
Meanwhile, Iran appears to have deepened its involvement in the war. The White House says the U.S. has evidence that Iranian troops are now in Crimea, training Russians on how to use drones to attack Ukraine. Yesterday, Putin made a rare visit to a military training ground, even taking target practice. A PR move likely aimed at boosting support among families of troops worried about a lack of gear. At the same time, a Ukrainian company revealed its new body armor for children, designed to wear as they evacuate the war zone. And people across Ukraine are facing another day of power outages. The grid operator there cutting back electricity due to previous missile strikes on energy infrastructure. Rhiannon?
Justin, thank you.
A dispute over sick time has derailed talks between the nation's freight railroads and their unions, setting the stage for a possible strike next month. Workers rejected a tentative contract deal. Then they proposed adding up to 7 sick days per year, but management said no. A walkout could trigger more supply chain problems. The Supreme Court has denied a request from a taxpayers group trying to stop President Biden's student debt relief program. The program still faces more legal challenges, but for now, millions of borrowers will begin seeing up to $20,000 of debt canceled.
Now to an ABC News exclusive. The parents of a Purdue University student murdered in his dorm are revealing new information about their son and his roommate, who's charged with the crime. They sat down with Good Morning America. The parents of Purdue student Varun Chedda are speaking out after their son was allegedly murdered by his roommate this month.
Never believe it in a million years.
His mother telling Good Morning America's Eva Pilgrim everything seemed normal on that morning when she drove him back after a long weekend at home. She texted him before bed that night.
He had texted me, "Good night, Mama," at 11:45.
Did he always text you good night?
Yes. Always. It was that and morning, Mom, which is what I miss every day.
But minutes later, after Varun sent that text, police got a disturbing call.
I have a second call. I believe this will be legit. One roommate has attacked another with a knife.
Shortly after midnight, officers responded to a 911 call at his dorm, finding the 20-year-old stabbed multiple times. Police now revealing Varun had been gaming online with friends when they say his roommate, 22-year-old Ji Min-sa from South Korea, attacked him. Sa called 911 himself. He's now charged with murder. Police say it was an unprovoked and senseless attack. Sa later claimed he was blackmailed. But he did not elaborate. As for Varun's family, they're now waiting for answers, saying they knew of no previous issues between the two.
Was there any sense that there were problems with his roommate?
No. You never even hardly ever talked about him.
And later on Good Morning America, how Varun's parents learned about the murder and how they plan to honor their son.
Overseas, the British government is in turmoil, searching for the country's 5th prime minister in 6 years. A successor to Liz Truss is expected to be named next week. She resigned yesterday after just 45 days in office due to her tax cut policies that wreaked havoc on the economy. ABC's James Longman says she could be replaced by her predecessor, Boris Johnson.
Despite the fact that Boris Johnson was forced out of office for lying, he remains a hugely popular figure with massive name recognition. He probably won't be a unifying figure, though, which is what the badly fractured Conservative Party needs. Whoever, though, comes into office has had their lives made that much more difficult by Liz Truss. They're going to have to get rocketing inflation under control and calm the markets.
And then there's this. A British tabloid set up a live feed to track whether Liz Truss's time in office could outlast the head of lettuce wearing a blonde wig. And the lettuce won. And last night, the lettuce's image was projected onto Parliament.
It is time now for a look at your Friday forecast. NOAA is out with its forecast for this winter, and it is predicting below normal temperatures across the north and above normal for the south and east coast. Northern areas can look forward to above normal rain and snow, but the areas that actually need it the most across the south will see below normal rain. On the radar right now, a storm system is moving into the northwest, bringing heavy rain and mountain snow. Checking today's high temperatures, the south warms up. Dallas hits 90, 60s in the northeast, 81 in New Orleans.
Coming up, new plans for the world's biggest cruise ship.
But first, what's next for actor Kevin Spacey after being found not liable in a sex abuse case? Why he's not out of the woods just yet.
And a new warning about security on TikTok.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go. We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7 straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi!
This mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial breaks.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby. It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
As of today, in a big way, we have inaugurated abcnews.com.
A lot has changed in our world since Peter made that announcement. But what hasn't changed is the commitment to groundbreaking reporting and innovation at abcnews.com. And here's to everything ahead.
'Tis time.
The real monster fun begins.
Here they come. Why was I cursed with such idiot sisters?
Just lucky, I guess.
Sounds creepy. We're home.
31 Nights of Halloween. Watch all October on Freeform.
From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
Back now with an avocado giveaway. People in Philadelphia scooped up 300,000 of them in just 3 hours. They were given away by a nonprofit in response to a huge surplus of avocados from South America.
A new report is raising more national security concerns around TikTok. According to Forbes, a China-based team with the app's parent company was planning to use TikTok to monitor the location of some Americans. A spokesperson tells Forbes the app collects data for ad targeting purposes, but Forbes reports the information was for surveillance. Elon Musk is reportedly planning major job cuts if his purchase of Twitter is completed. The Washington Post says Musk plans to slash Twitter's workforce by 75%. A former executive says the cuts would jeopardize the user security.
Now to the legal victory for actor Kevin Spacey, but he's not out of the legal woods just yet. ABC's Andrea Fujii explains.
This morning, actor Kevin Spacey found not liable in a sexual battery case dating back to the 1980s.
Mr. Spacey is deeply grateful for the jury system and for this jury in particular.
It took the jury less than 90 minutes to agree Spacey did not molest fellow actor Anthony Rapp, who was seeking $40 million in damages. Rapp accused Spacey of assaulting him when he was 14 years old, and Spacey was 26 in Spacey's New York apartment. Rapp's attorney claims Spacey's story was inconsistent and not worthy of your belief. Spacey denied the accusations, pointing to the fact that he had a studio apartment at the time, not a one-bedroom, as Rapp alleged.
This was a highly intelligent, highly educated jury. They're very, very bright people, and they could see right through this.
Rapp's allegations were the first among several against Spacey at the beginning of the Me Too era.
There's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth.
Spacey's career was soaring at the time with the hit Netflix show House of Cards, but he was dropped from the series and his acting career has stalled. Rapp, best known for his role on TV's Star Trek Discovery, did not speak after the verdict, but tweeted in part. Bringing this lawsuit was always about shining a light as part of the larger movement to stand up against all forms of sexual violence. This wasn't the only sexual assault allegation against Spacey. In 2019, he faced charges of groping a man at a Massachusetts bar. Prosecutors later dropped the charges. And 3 months ago, he pleaded not guilty in London to charges he sexually assaulted 3 men. That criminal trial is due to start next year. Spacey was also ordered to pay nearly $31 million to the makers of House of Cards for violating his contract by allegedly sexually harassing crew members. Andrew, Rhiannon.
Andrea, thank you. Coming up, why thousands of pets are getting sick with something they've never experienced.
Also ahead, the message to parents having trouble finding childcare.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine, close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
We're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go. We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
As of today, in a big way, we have inaugurated abcnews.com.
A lot has changed in our world since Peter made that announcement. But what hasn't changed is the commitment to groundbreaking reporting and innovation at abcnews.com. And here's to everything ahead.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis, streaming weeknights.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
Get ready for a cruise ship that could carry nearly 10,000 people. Royal Caribbean is building Icon of the Seas. It will be the world's biggest cruise ship, 20 decks high and nearly 1,200 feet long. It will feature the largest water park at sea, along with the suspended infinity pool.
An increase in legalized marijuana is sending more pets to the hospital. One poison control center reports 6,200 cases of apparent marijuana poisoning of pets in the last year. Vets advise people not to leave weed laying around, saying pets don't ingest marijuana like people do.
We turn now to America's child care crisis, a growing problem for both parents and educators. ABC's Karen Travers reports there are no easy solutions.
The U.S. job market continues to bounce back from the COVID pandemic. Despite that good news, one key industry is still struggling: childcare.
We continue to have staffing shortages. We're about 22% short-staffed right now. This is unheard of.
The childcare sector has lost more than 100,000 workers compared to pre-pandemic levels. That's a drop of 9.7%. Experts say the single biggest factor that continues to drive this staffing crisis: low pay for childcare workers. The average hourly wage for a childcare worker is just $13.31, or under $28,000 per year. Marcelo Candia is a teacher at Aka Child Development Center in Annandale, Virginia. He works a full day in a classroom of 4-year-olds and then heads to a second job nearby.
I work in the grocery store, so after finish here, I go my other jobs.
The child care center directors we spoke to say they're trying to alleviate that struggle, paying their workers more and offering generous benefits and incentives to retain quality teachers. Aka Child Development Center receives funding from the county and state and got federal dollars during the pandemic, but it's still not enough.
We are running our program with a $200,000 more or less deficit for this fiscal year because we decided to increase the salaries.
Experts say without major reform and funding, not much will change.
There are times when you wake up and think, is it worth it? But I know that I am making a difference in the lives of others. And what would life be if not being here for others too?
Karen, thank you. And when it comes to staffing, fewer women are returning to the workplace because they can't find childcare.
In sports, Game 2 between the Yankees and Astros was decided by one swing. A 3-run home run was all Houston needed. The Astros won 3-2. And on Thursday Night Football, the Cardinals used consecutive pick sixes to build a giant lead against the Saints, and they went on to win 42-34.
Coming up, Taylor Swift addressing engagement rumors in a new song.
Plus, what red nails could reveal about a woman.
America is being poisoned with fentanyl, and we don't even know it. Just heard my wife screaming. She told me they had just died.
50 to 100 times more potent than morphine.
Keep breathing, come on. It's poison, it's pure poison.
A few grains of salt worth of fentanyl will kill you.
Just my agency has seized enough to kill the entire country.
ABC News Live presents Poisoned, America's Fentanyl Crisis. The powerful series, streaming free on ABC News Live.
We were creating the perfect Mormon family. And then I fell in love with my friend. Yeah, I'm like stupidly in love with her. Leaving the church was leaving who I was. The lesbian ex-Mormon story is not something that's been shared very much, but I feel like our story needs to be told. Nobody tells you when you're Mormon is that there actually is another way.
With so much at stake in our world right now, we wanted to thank you for your trust and for making ABC News America's #1 news.
And thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
From the giant sequoias to the waterfalls, it's an amazing place. But in Yosemite, criminals go on vacation too. A park ranger found partial human remains.
It was a human hand.
That opened the possibility of suspects.
Henry Lee Lucas, Carrie Stainer,
Donald Gibson.
Any of them could have done it.
We're gonna figure this thing out.
Wild Crime, Season 2, Murder in Yosemite. Only on Hulu.
This is GMA3, what you need to know. GMA3.
A third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon.
Now streaming on ABC News Live.
Time to check the pulse, and we begin with Taylor Swift addressing engagement rumors in her new song.
Overnight, she released her 10th album. It's called Midnights. In one track titled Lavender Haze, she seems to sing about her boyfriend, actor Joe Alwyn, detailing their decision to keep their relationship out of the spotlight. Take a listen.
All they keep asking me is if I'm gonna be your bride. The only kind of girl they see is a one night or a wife.
So she mentions the speculation in the song, but she does not outright answer if she's getting married. In addition to the album, Swift also just released 7 more songs on a deluxe version. Next, a theory about red nail polish is dominating TikTok.
The theory is women with red nails are more attractive to men. A popular TikToker claims the look reminds men of their 90s-era moms when scarlet manicures were all the rage.
Next, what happens when Italy's #1 pasta is actually made in the Midwest?
You end up with a lawsuit. A judge has ruled a lawsuit against pasta maker Barilla can proceed. Two customers are not happy that their spaghetti's ingredients were grown in Iowa and New York. Barilla says its catchphrase reflects the company's Italian roots. And finally, the wildest wake-up call we've ever seen.
This Canadian mom started piling animals on top of her daughter's bed, hoping to wake her up. Look, a tortoise, a ferret, a hen, and a toad. They're all rescue pets that the family cares for. Her daughter, by the way, did finally get up. I think I would wake up if I was loaded up with all those as well.
This feels like a riddle. Top headlines next.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on